So happy to be here. First of all, they mentioned that the 2 out of the 3 people won a member of the year, so you met the other 2, so guess what?
We're the ones.
We didn't win.
We didn't win it.
However, I can't tell you how much I love being in this community and this group of people. I mean, you're my peeps, right? The thing that I want you to get out of this, our presentation, if you will, is the fact that wherever you are in your business, that's where we were at some point from the very beginning, starting out of the garage, right? So when Sean said, hey, I want you to tell your story a little bit, I said, how do you put 35 years in 20 minutes? So we got to get going. So to start, let's see, where is it?
This is not our clicker. I do have to say, while Paul's figuring that out, it is so fun to see the cherries and Marlo. I'm so excited to see you here and the pages, and we've been around this community almost as long as it's been around, so it's really fun to see the evolution and know that we've been there from the very beginning with all of them. And I hope that you take a lot away from this, because no matter what, if you want to stay a gym owner for the rest of your life, or if you have higher aspirations, or you want to do something different, as long as you apply all of that energy and enthusiasm, you can do anything. So it's really exciting, and I think everyone so far has proven that.
Yeah, so let's start from the beginning, right? So in 1980, I remember telling my parents and my 7 siblings that I was moving from Michigan to California as a young man, and I wanted to make my fame and fortune as a bodybuilder at Gold's Gym in Venice. They're like, are you crazy? Like, who does that? That doesn't work. But I did. I left, and I remember I bought my membership out of that gym before I even got a place to live. So in a sense, I was homeless for a while. For about 2 weeks, they let me use their showers, and I lived out of my car until I could find a place to live. The thing that I found out very early is that I couldn't really make a living in bodybuilding. Like, it just wasn't happening. And you can't buy groceries with a 400-pound bench press. So I needed to figure out what to do. So personal training was something that really kind of started at Gold's Gym in those days, and I was one of the very first people to do that. I felt like I really lucked into it. I was fortunate that very early on I realized that I needed to figure out a way to make a living in the gym, because that's where I was the happiest, right? I just love being in the gym. I love being around that community. I love the feeling of iron. I love the training aspect of it. So I did my very first bodybuilding contest in actually 1977, before most of you were probably born. That was in Michigan. And then I moved out and I started my competitive career. And by the end, I've done 44 shows over a span of 40 years, if you can believe that. But anyway, that's a different part of this. But to move forward, so around 83, I started training clients, and it was just an amazing way to make a living and to be able to help people at the same time. So I really enjoyed that part of it. And the opportunity is to make enough money that I was actually built a business where that we could buy our first home back in 1989. Although in the middle of all that, I met Carolyn in about 87, and really inspired me to build something sustainable. So that was fun.
Yeah, it's funny how your priorities change as you're building a family and you're buying homes and things like that. So we actually had our first child in 1990. So we got married in 89, and then we had our first child in 1990. Click that. Some of you will know him. And then 22 months later, we had premature twins, very premature. And that really kind of set everything into motion to where we are today, pretty much. So we had a really massive financial setback due to that, because they were in the hospital for 9 weeks, and it was just a really tough time. And at that little bit after that, we had the riots in LA. I don't know if any of you remember those or you read about them, but we lived in Venice, and we lived in the middle of mayhem. And I was training clients in their homes in the canyons, where I had to drive through burned out ruins on my way to their homes, and it was a scary time, and we decided we were out of there. We didn't want to raise our family there. We wanted out. So we walked away from our first home. We just decided it was worth leaving and being safe and having peace of mind. And we moved to Huntington Beach, which is pretty much where I grew up, down south, so south of LA.
Yeah, so foreclosing on the house, that was a tough one, right? I mean, the financial strain of the twins coming 3 months premature. Even though we had insurance, there was a lot of cost involved that the insurance company says, hey, we're just not going to pay for that. So it got to a point where we had to turn the house away. We moved down to Huntington Beach. And so just moving on from there. So when we moved to Huntington Beach, right, all my clients were still up at Gold's in Venice. So that's about 35 miles north of where we moved to Huntington Beach. So for about 4 years, I drove back and forth to train those clients. I'd get up at 4:15 in the morning, get on the road, get there, train clients, leave by 1 o'clock so I could come back to Huntington Beach and try to build a clientele there because no one knew me like they knew me up at Gold's in Venice in that area. So, just felt like I was starting out again. So that was tough. Plus, you're just willing to do whatever it takes, work whatever it takes to do that. So I was able to do that successfully, but at the same time, I really saw the writing on the wall, right? I was training people out of other people's gyms, powerhouse gyms, Gold's gyms, whatever it was. And once they started seeing how much money the trainers were making, the independent trainers, they're like, we should take that in-house. And I remember saying to Carolyn, like, this is going to happen. Like, we need to figure out a way that we can keep our clientele and treat them the way we want to and take care of them the way we want. So the first thing we did is we opened up a gym in our garage, our rental house, right? So I stripped it to the studs, put rubber mats on the floor. I remember we put a window in the back and a fan at the top and told all my clients, hey, instead of meeting me at Powerhouse, come to my house. We're going to start training there. And they actually loved that. And it was a great time for us because our kids were getting a little bit older. The bus stop was right in the front of the house. I got to see them every day, and it was an exciting time, right?
It was great. And at that point, a lot of our clients wanted more results, and we all know that we have to address nutrition to help our clients get additional results. So we created our first one-on-one nutrition program. So this was back in the early 90s. And it was just to service our own clientele. But it was very successful, and they loved it, and they got great results. And we thought, this is really great. There's kind of something here. So I really started paying a lot more attention to that in our business. And I'll let Paul talk about the semi-private training, because it's kind of a funny story for us. It's one of the things that has to do with NPE.
So always looking ahead, trying to build this business, right? Trying to make more money to support the children, because is it by then we had the fourth child?
We had the fourth child.
So we had the fourth child by then. We could just keep going. But it's exciting times, right? So where was I? So semi-private training. So what it was we had this couple that was training with us, and they were both paying separately, meeting them separately, and they had a hardship at work. They lost a lot of money in their stock, and they said it was basically like, hey, is there any way that you could train us together? We could somehow save money so we don't have to stop. And so Carolyn said, well, why don't we train you together, and instead of charging $75 an hour, we'll charge you $50, and you both can pay, you're saving money. We can actually make more money in that hour. And so we did that successfully, and then I remember the gal saying, hey, can my sister come in, because she wants to do this, and now she can afford it if it's only this. And I got 3 people, now I'm making $150 an hour. I remember going in, I go, you can't tell anybody about this. Like, this is the best invention ever.
So what do? We come to NPE. We come to our very first time, and we stand on stage, and we tell everyone, you guys have no idea what we discovered. It's called semi-private training. And they were like, what? How do you do that? That sounds scary. My clients would never go for that.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago, and I think most of you probably have that going on in your businesses now.
Yeah, so we ended up outgrowing the garage, obviously. I mean, just through referrals and the way that we were putting it together, the semi-private training, people could train more often, they could train for a longer period of time, so we decided, hey, we need to expand. So we opened up our first gym in 2001, and then 5 years later, we opened up a second gym, because I just knew that this business model would really work.
Click the thing.
Yeah, click, there's the grand opening of the second location, which was fun.
And then in 2008, so we had that one-on-one program, people got great results, but then The Biggest Loser came on TV, and people were like, I want to do that. I want to do something like that short-term thing. How can we do that? And they said, can you do that for us? And I said, yeah, I'll try. I'll try. So we put together at that time a 6-week program, and we called it the Takedown Challenge, because that sounded really genius at that time. And we had 26 brave people do it. We were literally handwriting things the night of the orientation, like before we're at our kitchen table writing, to take them to the gym to do the orientation. And it was great. And everyone lost. I think that first group of 26 people lost like 400 and something pounds in 6 weeks and had a blast doing it. And so we kind of thought there was something there. So we kept expanding on that to what it is today. But I think what we recognized at that point, and I think what the Pages recognized too early in their career, is that having something else other than your services with with fitness, with nutrition in this case, it was really giving us not only an identity, but a new revenue stream that we didn't really recognize as a revenue stream. It was what we thought at that time, just what we do. This is what we do. We just provide these things for our clients. But when we really looked at the numbers, we recognized that they were significantly adding to our bottom line. So, and it was also what gave us, recognition in our community for something other than our services. So it really separated us from our competitors.
Yeah, that unique selling position, because when we opened up in 2001, we were the only personal training gym around. But even by 2006, there was probably 15 of them within a 5-mile radius. And now there's probably 35 of them within a 5-mile radius. But we've always been a step above because we've had that unique selling position of the nutrition, really became known for that, right? NPE comes into the picture. So I discovered them from an ad in like 2008. And actually what it was is they had a Push-Ups for Charity event that they were promoting, and they were offering it to all the different gyms that they were working with for free. And it had all these tools and systems that came with it. And I just really liked that idea. Like I wanted to do some type of community event. And I wasn't even a member of theirs at the time, and they sent me all this stuff, and we put this Push-Ups for Charity event on, and we ended up making $17,000, and 100% of that goes to our veterans. And it was just an amazing thing. So it turned out that our gym made the most amount of money. So I get a call from Sean, and he goes, hey, you guys are actually the winner of this, and we wanted you to come to Orlando and tell us a little bit about how you did that. And in the meantime, I wanted to learn about them. So I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity. I want to go and basically interview them and seeing if this is something that can work and help me, right? So that's the award, and that was super fun. That was in 2010. And so the first thing I chose to sign up, obviously, with them. And the first thing that we did was the reactivation campaign, right? And the shocker for that for me was I remember Sean say to me, well, how many clients have you lost over the years because we want to work on getting them back? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, 20, 25, whatever. Like I didn't really keep good track of that. So once he helped me dig in and figure out what that is, it was 100 people. I'm like, holy crap, I had no idea. And then he had this great campaign of letters and postcards and phone calls and try to get these people back. And it was just, it was brilliant. And I knew at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh. First of all, I never thought of that. And then to have the systems and the tools to implement that in such an easy way that made me look brilliant to these people. And I'll tell you about the success of that a little bit further. But first I want to talk about where we were in business. So we didn't like it sounds like many of us before we found NPE didn't have a lot of structure. Like I didn't go to school to get an MBA. I didn't have a business sense. I was a trainer, and I just, out of ignorance, I knew I wanted more for myself, and I knew that I couldn't work for somebody else. That was part of the problem. But this is kind of what it looked like. There was just Carolyn and I. We had 2 trainers, one working in each place. But we were really eager to learn. I remember during that winter's weekend, one of the other gym owners was saying, after hearing about our story, because we were pretty successful already with a couple of gyms, and he said to me, he goes, you know, if you're willing to learn, you're going to be really successful, because already they've used tools and they've progressed. And I'm that guy. I'm like, just tell me what to do. I don't have an ego that way with business, and I'm happy to do that. I'm going to dig in. So to be able to stretch personally and professionally for us was amazing. And I remember saying to Carolyn when I signed up, because we signed a 3-year contract, I said, I'm going to treat it like I'm going to go to school, business school, for 3 years.
Wasn't that black card at that time? Like it was VIP black card. You couldn't just go VIP. You had to go VIP black card.
Right. So it's like me jumping in with both feet, basically.
It was good.
Yeah. So with 4 children, and at that time already 2 locations, it wasn't easy to necessarily accept the help, but certainly, I mean, we did, and it was amazing. Yeah. Especially for me, having been in the industry already so long, those tools weren't available before NPE. No one was doing that, especially in our community. So to not have to reinvent the wheel, like everything they gave me, I was like, oh, this is gold. I can't wait to implement this. It was fantastic. And so you've heard this before, right? Just follow the directions, because the truth is, that's it. It's like, don't try to change it. Don't try to reinvent it, thinking you've got something uniquely special that no one else has, or your clients are unlike any other clients that anybody has, right? It's human nature. So one of the first things they said was like, hey, you need to hire an admin. Boom, done, doing that. And then obviously you've all heard this, take yourself out of the business so you're not working in it. You can work on the business. And I really like that idea because already I've been training for 25 years. I'm like ready to do that, to take that step, to be more of a businessman and a leader. So that was easy to do. And then you can tell the story.
So then our 17-year-old son crashed his truck and didn't know what he was going to do to pay for his truck. And so we said, well, you can work at the gym. And we'll pay for your truck to get fixed, and you'll pay us back by working in the gym. And so he thought, this is great. I'm going to work for my parents. I'm going to be a trainer. It's going to be so good. And so he walked in, and he said, all right, where do I go? What do I do? And I said, go into that bathroom, put those gloves on, and clean out the toilet, and then go in the laundry room and get those towels and fold all the towels. And he literally did that for 3 years, and he never, ever complained. And he worked every aspect of that business. And so now he's the GM of all 3 locations. He's 27 years old. And he just actually filmed a video, I saw it last night, of that story. And it's the best thing to see someone we gave him tons of outs. You don't have to work for the family business if this isn't what you want to do. And he would say, stop talking to me about that. I love this. I love being here. And so, it's given him a career. He's married, he owns a home, and it's really been a really exceptional experience to watch your child go from that to where he is right now, a grown man who literally runs all 3 places. He just goes from place to place every day. So it's really cool. So at this point, when he came in the picture, and I'm definitely not needed to be there, and not train clients anymore, I'm fully invested in nutrition. And it really became probably, I don't know, I think we probably had around 500 people a year go through our two different nutrition programs. And they didn't have to belong in our locations, which is really important. If you create your own nutrition program, make sure you don't make it exclusive to your members, because then you're excluding people in your community. And that's not necessary, right? People should be able to come to your facility.
Awesome. So this is what it looked like in the early days. So the slide before that said Carolyn kind of left the gyms to focus more on nutrition. So I tell the story all the time, and I love it, and I remember it to this day where she came to me one day. She goes, I never really grew up wanting to be one of your managers. So she's like, I didn't really like enjoying client problems or employee problems. Like, I just really want to create, nutrition is my thing, and I just really want to do that. So I got that really quickly. I think it's super important that you're doing something that you love. And so within 2 weeks, she was out of the gym. We replaced her so that she could really focus on it. But before that, this is what it looked like. It was she and I, one of us at each gym. We had a trainer in each place.
For years, that was the way it was.
Yeah. So I just want to tell you, so remember the Build Your Own Package, the reactivation campaign? So when I did that, I made $35,000 in literally 2 weeks because of getting all those clients that have liked us and learned to trust us over the years and have left for one reason or another, came back, and it was unbelievable. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm definitely doing every campaign that they have, and hopefully they keep inventing more. The next one is even crazier, and I have to explain a little bit to you. So you've all heard the Raise Your Rates campaign and how difficult that can be, right? So in the early days of doing that, what we would say to our clients is say, especially because they were all on just sessions, right? They're buying 10 sessions at a time. No one had EFTs. We didn't have contracts or any of that. And we said to them, say we had 150 clients, like, you can buy as many sessions as you want at your old price, and then we're going to go to this price, and everyone's going to go to contracts. Well, they were cool with that. But boy, did they buy sessions at their old rates, right? I mean, that was crazy to come up with that. But here's to qualify that, the hard part was, it's like, these are the same people now that just paid in advance all this, so we're not going to have a lot of money coming in. We better be good at budgeting, which luckily we were. But then we got everybody on contracts, and then so you got reoccurring revenue that you can really count on, which in business, that makes a big difference, right? So that was pretty impressive. So we went from selling session packages to 12-month contracts. Now they're 6, 12, and 18-month contracts successfully. Everyone's happy. Everyone's enrolled in it. And so almost $300,000 in 2 campaigns was just phenomenal. So it was easy to buy in, right? So taking action really is the thing. So the very first system that we implemented was duplicator, which, most people think you're going to join this company and you want to get into marketing. Like, teach me how to bring people in. Like, I need more people. But the truth is this next point. It says, it doesn't do any good to bring a bunch of people in if you can't take care of them. So structurally, I knew I needed that work. Our trainers needed it. Our clients needed it. I needed it. Everyone just needed to get on the same page. So the behind-the-scenes systems was very important for us. The staff, a clear picture of where they're placed in the growing organization. The onboarding of staff and clients, just to streamline to make that so that you can really take care of them. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of over the years is that we have clients that have been with me for the whole 17 years that we had the gyms, but certainly for 2, 3, 5, 10 years at a time because of those systems, and they never fell through the cracks. It was exciting. And then I'm sure you've all heard of this. Again, that was a huge game changer. Our average ticket went from selling 10 sessions at a time for $450 to $4,000, and even that doesn't really reflect it properly, because if somebody now buys the package for 3 times a week for 18 months, it's almost $10,000. And we have people signing up for that all over the place. So that was, again, just phenomenal to be able to project and know that you had this income coming in. And then also then to be able to have a program system, if you will, that you can teach your staff on how to sell. So it gave our trainers an opportunity to make extra money by commission on doing sales, and that was exciting. So just by following the plan. So we had 2 locations, but we expanded the first one. That's the first thing we did, from 1,200 square feet to 3,000 square feet. Our staff went from 4 to 11. We went from 150 clients to 325 clients. And this was just from duplicator. This just from running our systems better, from being better internally. It's one of my favorite pictures. Actually, I think there's 14 of us there at this point. I remember I had to talk everybody into doing that. I'm like the only one to do that, and it ended up being so much fun. They're all laughing so hard, we almost all fell, but it was awesome. We went from doing semi-private training, right, from 1,000 sessions a month to over 2,000 sessions a month, which was phenomenal, at a higher rate, if you will. We added the 3rd location in 2015. So if you think about it, in 6 years, we did all this. I mean, just by taking those steps and implementing things. The funny part for me is that I'll get a 25-year-old kid coming to the gyms, and they'll look around and go, yeah, I want this. Yeah, I want this is exactly what I want. You don't realize where I started, how long it took. Yeah, this is the finished product, but as you guys know, in business building, it's taking those steps. That's why it's so important to acknowledge how far you've come. No matter where you are, you're progressing. The fact that you're in this room already tells me that you're brilliant and you understand what coaching and mentoring and how to take that on, and you want to be better for yourself and your family and your lifestyle, and I just think that's an amazing thing. I'm so proud about, in the midst of making this living, that we've created such a great life for ourselves, right? With our children and owning our gyms and setting our own hours, and just we had so much fun in that process. Oops, can I go back to that?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's, just quickly, that's kind of what the organization chart ended up looking like, with the crew standing out on front with one of our locations. Super fun. What should I talk about this?
Okay, so you already know that I exited the gyms, but in 2012, I decided to create a company. I decided to take everything out of my head and put it down on a piece of paper and turn it into a program that we could duplicate. So I based everything on the same principles that we learned to build our gyms. And that was all the NPE, things that you're learning right now. And at that time, Sean had a mastermind group. It was very small, and each Paul and I joined for our unique purposes. Him for an exit strategy plan and to learn how to do that, and me to build balanced habits. Because I remember coming to, I think it was a spring training here in Orlando, in probably 2011, and sitting down with Sean, and he was very gracious to sit with me, and I was showing him my nutrition program, and he was like, it looked really clunky to him. He really didn't understand what I was trying to accomplish at that time, and I was beta testing it with some MPE members. And he was like, so people come to your gym every week, 150 people come to your gym every week for a weekly weigh-in and a journal checkup. And I said, yeah, it takes about 5 minutes. He's like, 150 people. And then you could see this light bulb go off in his head. He's like, wow, 150 people come to your gym on a weekly basis for 5 weeks, at this time 6 weeks, for the nutrition program. And it was like he kind of was seeing what I was seeing, and it was like that this is great to build, recognition in your community for your location, and it helps you build lead gen, and it did so much for our location, and that's why I wanted to share it with other fitness business owners, but I needed help. I needed a coach, I needed a mentor, and so that's why I went to Sean for the mastermind group. And so then the very first mega training I attended for Balanced Habits was in 2013, and I literally had empty blank pages of training manuals because I wasn't even done yet. The pages, you don't know that. and I signed 14 NPE VIPs that day. And then it came to our first training, and I was prepared for that. But it was just something I've believed in for so long, and I understand that this is where people need to get serviced, because all of you are ambassadors of health and wellness. Where else would you service people? So it's been really fun for me to do that, and I couldn't have done it without all the same principles that you're doing right now in your fitness facilities.
Yeah, so just part of the exit strategy, one of the things we want to do is open up a third location to really just prove that we could put this brand any location and make it work, and that was fun for us. And then the next step for me, because we decided, yeah, I'm going to do this. We've had these gyms for 17 years. I've been doing this for 35 years. Like, I'm ready to move on. I'm 82 years old, and it's time to just do something else. So I hired a business broker, which I highly recommend if you ever get to that point, you want to do that, because this guy came in and he sat down and he says, he wrote this pro forma that was about this thick. He goes, by the time I get done, you're going to sound so good, you're not even going to want to sell this gym. But anyway, so he did all that back work, and it was fantastic. And we actually sold them this past June, was finalized. It says 6 figures, but it's actually 7 figures. That started in my garage. I didn't have anything that I could possibly sell out of my garage. Even the intellectual property of having the clients, like, who am I going to sell those to? And are they actually going to go to somebody else? But to be able to create this and work myself out of it so that it wasn't about me anymore, it was about this system and this culture that we had built that works. And this guy came in, bought all 3 locations, and he was so impressed. And he had been looking at other facilities, and everybody was missing the structure. And that's what a businessman coming in to buy something is really looking for. So keep that in mind if you're looking to eventually sell at some point. And so I got to retire.
For the weekend.
For the weekend.
For the weekend.
Yeah, so, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, Carolyn will. But this is, so I want to leave this on here just for a second if you want to write down any of this information, because this is what needs to happen if you ever want to sell this. And honestly, this is what Sean taught me about what needs to happen just to run a good business, right? You need to know your numbers, obviously. A buyer wants to know how many clients you have, the average monthly value of each client, the average lifetime value of each client, the average cost per client, and then the average cost to acquire a client. And these are things that you have probably learned since then, but it's really important to know at all times what's going on here. Because the buyer, honestly, they just want to see how good looking your bank account is. I mean, that's what they're basing it off. Not that the company brings in $1 million a year, but what's the profit, right? It doesn't do any good if you're bringing in $1 million if it's costing you $950,000 to run it, right? All you do is you just owned a business.
You're working.
You've owned a job.
You've owned a job, yeah. Okay, so with Sean's support, we really decided to go full stream with Balanced Habits, like 100%. I was a little nervous in the beginning on my family. I've been a stay-at-home mom, working from home or in the gyms, which was still home for the most part, and it was a big deal for me. My kids are older now, but they don't need you less, they just need you different. And so that was a really big deal for me. So I did start Balanced Habits in the home, and I had one shared employee with the gym. And then after that, we grew a little bit bigger, and we needed to hire an admin, and I didn't want 3 people in my home, so we got a little small office space real near home, which was important to me. And we outgrew that space in about 1.5 years, and I was fortunate enough to have my landlords let me out of my lease. And we moved into the next big step, which was, again, kind of scary, taking on a bigger space than I needed at the time, but I knew within a short amount of time I'd be filling those offices, and they're now full, which is really great. So this past year, we added our own in-house marketing coordinator or director, which is a big deal, because we were contracting out, and to have someone else kind of get inside your head to create your marketing and write your copy and things like that, make your ads, but they don't really know your culture and they don't really understand who you are. it can kind of work, but we really needed someone in-house. So we moved someone actually from New Jersey to Southern California, and which meant we were investing in her as much as she was investing in us. And so that was a big step for us. But now we have a complete staff, and Paul's retirement actually ended pretty quickly, and we brought him in to help us out. But I want you to go back really quick. So I don't know if you noticed when we very first started this, and we didn't get to speak it, but the very first slide, it said that Paul and I every year, literally every year on New Year's Eve, we always say, how can we help more people? That's always been our goal, our mission, and probably many of yours as well. And we always thought, what can we do? How can we help more people? And you're kind of limited when you have a location, or even 2 or even 3, because you can only help those people in your community. And in this time of starting, not Balance Habits, but probably opening our second location, I had 2 siblings out of my 3 siblings die of obesity. And I thought, I gotta help people, we gotta do this. So we created Balance Habits on those principles of helping more people. So when we did this, can you go back?
Yep, sorry. Obviously very passionate, right, to really understand your why. I don't know if you heard that, lost 2 siblings to obesity. Like, that's crazy. Sorry to bring it up.
Just finish that.
Is that what you want?
No, I want you to say that.
Oh, excuse me. So this is how we get to help more people. No, that really was. Every year we did speak about that. And my whole life I wanted to do that. I used to say to Carolyn, from Southern California, I just want to be in Angel Stadium, having a stadium full of people that I could speak to about the quality of life and the opportunity of how good they can feel if they just took care of themselves, right? I mean, losing 2 siblings. I lost my dad when he was 68 years old. And so, when you lose people in your life, I knew that I didn't want to be that to my kids. I want to be present for them and be able to hang with them and be around for them and be around for the grandchildren. How'd you even get me into this? Obviously.
No, I just wanted to say that the way we got to help more people was because when we built Balanced Habits, now we had like ambassadors using our nutrition programs all across the United States and Canada now that get to help people indirectly through us. So that's how we got to help more people.
Yeah, it'll say that later, but we have 130 partners across North America now, and we've helped over 100,000 people through the nutrition, indirectly through our partners, and we're the most proud about that.
I get emails and I get Facebook messages from people I've never met, who I will never meet, thanking me for saving their life, and there's like nothing greater than that. Did you share with me, one of you at the table today shared with me that that's like the most meaningful thing, even if you can't change them, you gave them some gift, whether it's through fitness or nutrition, that changed their life. And that's like so amazing. So you're all in a great industry. You're really fortunate. So like I said, Paul's retirement was over quickly. We needed him. I needed him to help me with sales. I really was wearing way too many hats at this point, and so he was gracious enough to come over to help us in the office. And now Sean went from being just my coach and my mentor, who he still is, but he's also now our strategy advisor, more specifically, which is really, really beneficial because knowing how to scale a business to the degree that I want to scale it, you need someone that has that, very strategic mind, and I don't, so I acquiesce to someone who does, because it's always okay to do that. So the main thing that I wanted to talk about on here is that we are really on a mission, and knowing your mission is super important, as you said, and knowing what you want to do really gives you passion every single day beyond what you could imagine. So it's my mission to eradicate the diet industry. Because while you think the nutrition industry is so corrupt, I think the diet industry is so corrupt, and it's really messing with people's minds. So I'm really bringing that customer into the industry that actually cares about their health and wellness, and that's the mission that I'm on. So I was recently at a trade show, a consumer trade show, and they were asking me what I did, and I realized I had no way to explain it, and I wasn't really quite sure how to handle that. So we went on a bike ride around Lake Michigan. No, I don't know, in Canada, Lake Ontario. And I came up with this word to explain what I do, and it's called foodjucation, and I trademarked it. and I give people an education how to eat food. That's it. I don't sell supplements, I don't sell products, I don't sell ready-made meals, I don't do anything like that. I just really give them an education because that's what they're lacking. And so that's important to me. So this is our work chart, our structure. It went from 2 of us to this, and I'm pretty proud of that.
So there's the kids now, all grown, fantastic. They're all out of the house. It's amazing. They're all successful. It's just, I mean, that's just the best. That's what I'm the most proud of. When people ask me all the time, hey, you built this business, you've sold it, you did this, created another company, what are you most proud of? Right there, that picture. Sorry, I'm pointing there. You don't know what's there. It's right there. That's what I'm most proud of. So started in the garage from a rental home in 95, right? Created the company into a saleable entity by 2017. Transferred myself from a personal trainer to a business owner to a leader, which was exciting for me. We launched Balanced Habits in 2013. Fully invested in the growth and development of Balanced Habits back as the team Fetters are together again. It's exciting for us. And everything takes patience, structure, and needs a plan. I mean, that's one thing that is really important. It's one thing that I want to talk about right now. So you all know this. This is why you're here. Having a mentor, having a coach is extremely important. Hold you accountable, keep pushing forward, someone that you can bounce things off of. You only know what you know, right? So hopefully you're hiring somebody that's a little bit smarter than you can help you move forward, and I like that. Follow the directions. We've been saying that all afternoon, excuse me. My favorite thing, and I learned this in bodybuilding, simplicity and consistently for reliable results. You can train 5 hours in one day and then go to the mirror and go, yeah, nothing happened. Train for a month, go to the mirror like, yeah, nothing happened. I mean, it's consistently doing those small things correctly over time that really work. And then count your wins. It's so important. Everyone's so driven, you're just going. Sometimes you need to step back and go, wow, look what I've done, look what I've created. Look back over the last year or month or even that day and congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back for your accomplishments of where the business is. And yeah, you want to go further. And I mentioned this earlier, it's one of our favorite things. Never get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life, right? Don't make that gym your 16-hour day thing, especially if you're having family, you're in relationships. That's really the most important thing you're going to do. One of my favorite sayings is, there's never been a guy on his deathbed that said, gee, I wish I'd spent more time in the office. That doesn't happen. And then in closing, of course, I told Carolyn, I said, if you do this, you got to put a picture of me. So this is my career of 40 years. Actually, look at this. This is 5 decades. Like, I am actually 82 years old. How else can I do that? But from 79, and then 3 months ago, I competed in the national championships at 60 years old, and super proud of that, too. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.